Everybody, Andrew here from Pool Productions. Very first video, and what today I'm going to go over is how to backwash your Pro-Grid D.E filter. So this is really designed to help our customers out that we've built their pools, and we've gone over the instructions with them personally, but now you can't remember everything. So here's a little helpful aid. It's going to be a video on, again, backwashing your Pro-Grid D.E filter. And here we are at the store, and we have this pool behind us, which has a Pro-Grid filter on it, and it's time to backwash. So first, let's take a look at the system. It's a lot of different features on it. Most people don't have all these features, but again, this is a display pool here at our store. So let me show you the system, and as we look through the fence there, you can see the system. Pretty complex looking system. Again, most people's pools don't look like this, but if you have a Pro-Grid filter, this is what you have. Okay, it's this big tank sitting in the back, and we always plumb ours with a multi-port valve, which is, I'm going to point to it, it's this valve here. That's your multi-port valve. Okay, and one of the issues is that you never want to do is you never want to turn that valve with the pump and filter running. Always make sure the pump and filter's off before you turn that valve. So some basics, what we're looking for. Well, let's look at the pressure. Here we go. Look at the pressure. Well, you've got a green needle and a red needle. Those never move, okay? Green means good, and red, of course, means bad. And your black needle in the background, you can see this one's right at 30. That's your indication. That's your indicator needle that tells you when to backwash. And so when the filter's really clean, it's going to start out at the green, and as it gets dirtier, it's going to move up to the red. And when it gets up around the red, it's time to backwash. Now, plugged filter, of course, means the pool's not being filtered, which means it's going to turn colors on you. That lovely color green that you don't want to see unless you're a Michigan State fan. Okay, so anyway, you can see the pressure's up on that. All right, so the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to shut the pump off and put out our backwash hose. So let me show you the backwash hose in case you forget. It's that blue hose. You see it coming off the back of the valve right there, and ours is all the way over here, all coiled up on the ground, ready to be rolled out. Make sure you roll it out or it's going to burst like a water balloon. So let's turn off that pump first, because the pump is running and we want to turn it off before we turn that valve. So here we have a P4 controller, and I don't know if you can see the whole thing, but we have a P4 controller, and there's a button in there simply that says filter. Hit that button, and then you may be able to hear in the background that the pump actually turned off. So we're off now. We're going to go over to our backwash hose, and we're going to wind that out. Okay, so I'm going to pause for a second while I get that out, and we'll come back. Got the backwash hose ran out, ran it right over to the neighbor's property, you know, right towards his basement. No, not a good idea. Might not want to do that. So do think about where that water is going. DE won't hurt your vegetation. It may long term if you keep dumping it in the same exact spot repetitively, but DE is ground coral, so it's just a real fine dust, and you know, what's coming out of the filter is not going to hurt anything. So unless your water's way out of balance or in one spot multiple times, you know, over a short period of time, you might want to move that hose someplace different. So anyway, here we go. So here we are. Here's the controller again. Yours might vary a little bit, but there's always a button that says filter on it. So again, the filter's off. We're going over to the multi-port valve, the valve that says backwash and filter. And it's kind of hard to read, but right here it does say filter. Okay, and that's what you're in right now, position wise. Now back on the back side here, right by the backwash hose, is a glass jar, and it's called a sight tube, and that's what we're going to watch for the amount of dirt and debris that comes out of the filter to know when to stop backwashing. Okay, so again, with the pump off, we're going to push this handle down and rotate it around 180 degrees to backwash. Doesn't matter which direction you go. All right, so we're ready to turn the pump on and start getting that filter cleaned out. Come back over to your controller or your on-off switch, however you control your pump, and you turn that on. And as you can see, there's our backwash hose filling up with water and running out into the field. And we're going to look at this backwash. Look at that sight tube. Well, we've got a leaker, but that's all right. See how dirty it is? All right, and you see how it's turning clear? Okay, so we're going to keep it running for a little bit, not too long, and it's not totally clear, so at this point we want to turn the power off. Okay, so come back to your controller and turn your filter off. Okay, and now we're going to turn that valve to rinse. It's right here about the 4 o'clock position, and we're going to rotate it around to rinse. Okay, then in the meantime, so now we've got our valve rotated around the rinse, and now we're going to turn the pump back on again on the rinse cycle. So again, back over, turn the filter on. And I did fix the leak on my brief little thing, but we're just going to let that run and looking at the sight tube for about 5-10 seconds. So now we're going to shut it off again. Okay, again, going back to the filter, we're going to rotate around to backwash. Okay, and we're going to hit it again. Okay, here we go. And again, take a look at the sight tube. Look how filthy dirty that sight tube is. That's all the junk your filter's been collecting, and you notice how it's clearing up. So we're going to let it go till it just about clears, but not fully. About right there, that's good. And then we're going to start. I've ran it backwash, rinse, backwash, rinse, backwash, rinse. I've done that multiple times, and everybody wants to know how many times do I do it. Well, I can't tell you. Every filter is a little different. How plugged the filter is different. What I can tell you is the better you backwash the filter, the longer cycles you'll get between having to backwash and the less maintenance that will have to be done on the grids in the filter. So is 2 times enough? No, I can definitely tell you not. That's not enough. Is 4 or 5 times? Maybe sometimes. Is 10 times exceeding it? No, I've seen many times where you've had to backwash filter 10 times back and forth. So I just did a rinse, and how do I know when I'm at the end where I've got the filter good and clean? So I just did a rinse, so now I'm going back to my backwash position. Okay, and I'm going to flip it on, and we're going to take a quick look at that sight tube as I move back over here, and we're going to notice how fast it clears up. Okay, and that's the indication. Okay, you see it's not that cloudy. We got a burst of dirt, but look how fast it's clearing up. When we get to the point where it's clearing up really fast, and we know that we've got it backwashed out really well, because otherwise that big first burst of dirt's going to last for a while. So here it is, it's totally clear now, and that's what we're looking for. Now if you read the instructions from Hayward, they're going to tell you to do this one time and let it run on backwash till it runs clear. But we find if you go multiple times back and forth between rinse and backwash, you'll get a much better backwash filter, and you'll have a lot less problems. So you can see out the sight tube, again, this is your sight tube, this jar. Out the sight tube is that nice and clear, okay? So we always finish up on rinse. So again, we're going to turn the filter off and go to rinse. Okay, so we're on rinse right now. You can see our valves in the rinse position. This is our final rinse. We always finish on rinse. So we're rinsed, and we're going to let it go a little longer than the 5 or 10 seconds because we want to make sure it's well rinsed. So I like to go, 20 seconds to a half a minute, maybe a minute at the most. But you got to remember you're losing water out of the pool that's valuable. So, all right, so rinse. We're going to shut it off, and we're going to go to filter and show you how to charge the filter with the DE. Okay, so now with the filter off, we've gone from rinse to the filter position, back on our valve to filter. Okay, so we're ready now to put the diatomaceous earth, the DE, into the filter, and that is the media that actually catches the debris and dirt in your pool. You never want to run this filter without DE in it. You can for a minute or two while you're putting it in, but don't backwash your filter, then walk away and go, I'll put the DE in tomorrow, or start backwashing and not realize that you're out of DE, and then, oh, I'll let it run and get some at the store tomorrow. That's a no-no. Okay, it's going to cost you money, it's going to cost you problems. Okay, so we're ready to put the DE in. And so the next question is, how much DE do I put in the filter? Well, if you don't remember, if you didn't write it down, if you don't have it noted, let me tell you how you can figure it out. On the Hayward filters, there's a sticker, okay, right here. And what on that, it will tell you how many pounds of DE you need to put in the filter. okay? And so it tells you right on this line right here how many pounds of DE to put in your filter. But look, here's the model numbers, and you're like, okay, great, I know how many pounds to put in, but I don't know my model number, so I really don't know how many pounds. Well, let me show you where you figure that out. So here's the big sticker next to it, and at the bottom of the big sticker there's this little black sticker, and they'll tell your model. And as you can see right here, I'm going to try to zoom in and see if it will do it. Find out. Here you can see it says it's a DE 3620. Okay, so now we know our model of our filter. We can come back to our chart, okay, and we can find at the top of the chart where it says 3620. Of course, it's not focusing. There it goes. All right, and we can see right here, here's my column, there's my 3620 right there. Follow that down, right there's my poundage. I need 4.5 pounds of DE for this, for a 3620. Okay, most of our pools out there are going to be a 3620 or the next one over, which is a 4820. It takes 6 pounds. We do have a few out there that are the 2420s and a couple 6020s. Okay, but most of them are those two. All right, so how do we figure out how much 4.5 pounds is? Well, we have a solution to that as well. We sell, and Hayward makes, what we call a scoop, a DE scoop. And basically it's this little scoop, and it's exactly 1 pound. So we get a 5-gallon pail of a 5-gallon pail, an empty 5-gallon pail, nice clean one, and we get a DE scoop, and we put 4.5 scoops in. We sell these at the store. The other way you can do it is, if we've told you before, you know, fill the bucket to this level, then that's a good indicator as well. But if you're nervous about it, you can do this. The other way you can do it is if you get a 2-pound coffee can. That's about 1 pound of DE. Very close to it. Might be a little high, but very close. 2-pound coffee can, 1 pound of DE. Okay, so let me get my bucket and my DE, and I'll show you how to mix it up. Again, our filter's off, so don't turn that sucker on until we're ready to go. Okay, so here I am back. I've got my 4.5 pounds of DE in my bucket. It's about 1/3 of a 5-gallon pail, I'd say, somewhere right about there. I use my trusty DE scoop to do that, and it does make life a lot easier, so you're not guessing. Overloading your DE filter will cause it to plug a lot faster, and of course if you underload it, you're going to plug the grids inside, and that requires degreasing and acid washing. Okay, so I've got the bucket, I've got the water garden hose running, and I'm simply going to fill the bucket up. Okay, now again, DE is not a chemical, it's a ground coral, so it's safe to touch, but the powder, not so safe. Okay, so the powder is, you know, very fine, and you don't want to be inhaling anything that fine of dust. So don't sit there and inhale the dust. So all right, so I'm mixing it up in my bucket, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take my hand and make sure everything's broken up and dissolved. Okay, so everything's broke up. I'm going to turn my garden hose off real quick. All right, and at this point now, I'm going to turn my filter on because I'm ready to put my DE in. And so I'm going back up here, and I'm in the filter position on my filter, on my valve, and we're ready to rock and roll. So let's take the DE over. And how do we put the DE in? We put it in at the skimmer. So let's go over to the pool, over to the skimmer. Okay. Now, one thing you always want to be aware of is that when you backwash, you're going to lose water out of the pool. If you pump it down, if you backwash so much that you get the water volume too low in the pool, of course the skimmer is going to suck air. It's going to be like a fast drain bathtub, so be aware of that. Okay, so we're here at the skimmer, and we're going to go ahead. I'm going to try to do this one-handed. I'm going to pour the DE into the skimmer, and you can usually pour it pretty fast, okay, because the pump is going to take it. If you pour it too fast, you will see it go out into the pool, but you really got to pour it really fast for it to beat the filter. So I need to reposition this bucket just a little. Okay, see how fast I'm pouring it? It's not making a difference. As long as you don't see it creeping out in the pool, you're okay. All right. And Some of it's settling, so I'm trying to mix it up so I don't have to keep adding water. Alright, so look, I still have some left in the bottom of the bucket. So just scoop some water out of the pool. Okay, pour it in. Alright, one more good rinse of the bucket. Alright, then I'm going to rinse my hand off because it's all covered. Okay, make sure you put the lid back on so nobody steps and breaks their ankle. Alright, let's go take a real quick look at the filter. Let's see where that needle ended up. Hopefully everything's working out good. Alright, so you can see, look, our needle is down. It's not back down to the green. Okay, we would prefer it down to the green, but it's not all the way down the green, but we now have good flow through the system. Your needle should normally get down to the green or a little closer than this one. What this indicates to me is that we need to acid wash and degrease our filter. So at the end of the season, we're going to do that, and you can do that as well. You can bring me the grids in, or you can request it if you have us close it. It's not very expensive, and it's something that should be done every 2 to 3 years. But this tells me that my filter is getting loaded up, okay? And so that's a good indication, but we're good to go, and we should be good for probably the rest of this season before we have to take the filter apart and actually clean it. So I hope that helps. Again, this is just a impromptu, just something to get out there on the web for you so that you guys can backwash it the way that we like to see you backwash it, to cause you less problems. And I apologize for the blurriness and the unprofessionalism. It's not a professional video, it's just something to help you guys out real quick and dirty. So I'll be popping up other ones like how to use your controller, how to program timing, how to water your pool, different things like that. So check back soon. Thanks.